a man on fire.
All right, hello humans. Whoa, shit.
Wow, almost had the first accident there. Slack line here.
We are here on the Slack line with JWoww
Wow.
and the boss.
The boss is coming.
That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
And we are here with Polina and Nima, cyclists, along with JWoww on their. Polina, you're a cyclist as well too, yeah? But you don't work for Foodora.
I don't.
No, okay.
Not yet.
But they are well-traveled people and are coming to us with some worldly stories, I think, that are going to be very interesting today. Isn't that right?
Those guys are amazing bike tourings, and they have some very interesting stories about biking.
I think Joel just likes me. He's my friend.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some of those stories today. Who wants to start? Anyone wanna raise their hand? Nima. All right. You've been voted.
Yeah.
And remember,
So, hello everybody. My name is Nima, and I'm just a regular dude. I like biking, and that's it. Here I am.
you are
So,
a regular amazing dude.
just, yeah.
I've heard you have some
Traveling.
interesting stories. You've ridden around the world.
There is a story. Nima, Nima told me a story once.
Oversold
Yeah,
me.
you had to tell that story.
Closer. Okay, like this. Okay.
Your parents live in Vegas, no, right, Nima?
Mm-hmm.
And one time Nima when he felt like he was missing his parents, and you tell the story.
Yeah, like, okay, so it's I can't talk about a lot of things, but I love traveling. Like, I think this is one of the few things that makes sense and gives meaning to my life. And
Cool.
but the thing is, I've been always a hyperactive, like physically hyperactive kid. Like, I've been doing sports since I can remember, and whenever I'm not getting physical exercise, like, I go really down, like I'm like not myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I moved to Vancouver, like 8 years ago, I started biking because it's more bike friendly
For
than
sure.
where I come from in Tehran. It's polluted and stuff.
Sorry, where do you come from?
I'm from Iran, Tehran.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then it picked up, and so I was biking and commuting just with my bike, ever since I've been in Vancouver. And then I, at some point, like a few years ago, I had a trip to Europe for a week. I didn't exercise for a whole week.
Oh, yeah.
And I was totally shut down. I had a ticket to go to Mexico, like doing a backpacking trip.
Okay.
In Central America, and that was a good heads up for me. I can't do 3 weeks without my bike, so I decided to turn it into a bike trip. So I biked in Mexico and down to Guatemala. I made it like much less countries to travel in. I wanted to go to all Central American countries.
Okay.
Then I did a loop, and I started from Cancun, went down. I wanted to see all the Mayans,
Yeah.
sites.
Tulum
which
and stuff
was
like that.
Awesome,
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, they just found a new one down there, right on the edge of Guatemala, the northern part
Really?
of.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
It's like 60. I want to say 60,000 homes, but I don't think that's right. I think it was 60. But they have like highways and stuff in this new Mayan temple that or this city. It's a city.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they say like in that region, it's like under the rainforest.
Yeah.
It's all civilizations, but I think according to regulations, they cannot unearth more than 5%.
Yeah, the only reason they know they have like some special technology that can scan it and remove the canopy from the forest, and they can see all the structures just with, I'm sure it's like seismic waves or something like that. But yeah, anyway, sorry, continue with your.
So and then I realized that's the way to go for me. Like traveling with bicycle, getting my physical exercise, and
How safe was it to travel in Mexico?
it was pretty safe. Totally safe. I didn't.
No crazy stories about people
no.
trying to rob you and stuff.
No, not at all.
Oh,
No.
nice.
Well, who's gonna rob somebody that's just riding their bike?
Are you kidding?
We
Yeah.
have stores.
Yeah?
No, in Brazil they stole your bike and everything you have.
Like right out from under you?
Yeah, man. They stop you in São Paulo. They stop you.
Oh, wow.
They with a knife and they just get your bike.
Right, but like going across Mexico, if somebody's gonna be taking somebody down, it's probably like tourists in a car traveling across with a bunch of possessions
This is
and
true.
stuff.
Like, they probably rob like the guys with expensive bikes that are training for something,
Yeah.
not like the touring bikers. But I had a story of another cyclist that was he was almost robbed. It was in Mexico, and he traveled from Alaska to Argentina, and the only country he was attempted to be robbed was Mexico. That's why I asked. But luckily, he got on the other side of the street and. Well, was hit by a truck pretty much.
Oh, dear.
And yeah, and he of course didn't have a helmet because who needs a helmet cycling from Alaska to Argentina. And he had a pretty bad injury, but he was so pumped on adrenaline when it happened that he actually charged those guys. He like started trying trying to hit them pretty much, and it was two guys, and they just got scared and ran away.
Oh,
So
wow.
so he was not robbed, only hit by a truck.
Only hit by a truck. Finally, he was not robbed, but just hit by a truck.
Had to
Run
go
over
to the
by a
hospital, but here we are telling his story, right?
Paulina, how did you came across biking and all that story?
You know what? I was turning 30 last year, and I was like, well, turning 30, I have to do something crazy. And there was something I always wanted to do, is like to cycle long distance. I always wanted to do it, and it was on my, at the back of my head all the time. And I'm not letting go of things easily. So this one day I was like, that's it, I'm doing this. Like, I had a flexible job. I just, saved up like some bucks. And I had no idea how to do long distance cycling, like zero. I just had my bike. I bought 2 panniers,
To what, sorry?
like the bags, the side bags,
okay, yeah.
and put them on the little rack. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good to go. I got my camera with me, and that's it. I was just like, okay, bye everyone. Just follow me on on Instagram, and we'll see what happens.
But were you like at least used to biking around town, or?
Yeah, so just 2 weeks or 1 week before, I've decided that's it, I'm going, like no matter what, I'm just going. I was so freaking scared. I have a really good friend who is Olympic level cyclist back in Colombia, and she was like, okay, let's do like a long distance ride, and then see if you can do it. So we did 80 kilometers, not loaded bike, up to just towards 40 kilometers towards Whistler and then back.
Okay.
I made it. I was hurting.
That's like
for-
all uphill. Holy shit.
it was all uphill. I was like, okay, if I do 80 kilometers with no bags, it's fine. I can do it with bags for 100 kilometers. And yeah, and then I loaded my bike in a couple of weeks, and I was like, oh, that's additional 30 kilos. Oh my God, what am I going to do with this? But you start cycling, you just go for it.
Yeah.
And the trick is you just keep telling yourself, like, 1 kilometer at a time, and you keep pedaling. And you know what? After doing this, I realized that anyone can do it, and I'm definitely here to let everyone know not to be afraid of doing something like this. And it's a wonderful experience to actually to see a distance that you completed that you can see on a full map.
So
Yeah,
which
that is
distance
cool.
was that?
Yeah, where did you go?
So my
First time.
my first trip was Vancouver to San Diego. I did 3,000 kilometers.
Oh, that's the one I want to do.
Shit.
And I did it alone as a female with zero experience or any clue what I was doing.
You see,
Smart.
that was funny because when I met Paulina, we were talking about jobs and stuff, and so I'm a bike career as well, like working in film sets. I'm doing this. She's like, oh, nice. I cycle from this or like, and this is the trip I always wanted to do. Like she did the trip that I always wanted to do.
I also want to do that
Oh,
trip, but in a car.
On a horse.
Yeah, on a horse.
Because it's so Canadian. Doing on a horse.
I can't ride a horse, actually.
Oh, really?
No,
Not
I'm
yet.
not that Canadian. Yeah, so Nima, what's your long distance ride? What's your favorite ride that you've done?
Yeah, the longest one was in year 2000 and yeah, would be 2016.
Okay.
I was sitting in my apartment. I had just applied for bike career job, and they wanted too much of commitment, like staying there. They were like asking me questions in the interview, like, where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Yeah.
I was like, so, I don't know.
Delivery to
Dead.
Las
I
Vegas.
have no idea. So luckily they didn't hire me, and I waited for a week, and I had no plan whatsoever, and I was like having this, talks with my parents to go and visit them. I was like sitting, so like, why I'm not biking to Vegas? Like I can't be away from my bike, but I practically have nothing to do. I just had a thesis that nobody cares when it's gonna be finished,
Okay.
And then like the night that I decided, the morning of the day after, I rolled out of my apartment. I already had like bike touring stuff.
I think that's the secret, not to think too much
Just
about
go?
it. Just go, yeah.
Yeah, and
That
I
sounds like a terrible idea, especially if you're gonna go for like days and days. Like you gotta pack stuff and plan.
You know what?
yeah, I had no plan whatsoever.
I can imagine, like, in Matt's head, what he would pack. Okay, 2 underwears, a flip flop. What else do I need?
Yeah, and
Flip-flops are good.
That's a good start, actually. That's what I would pack too.
yeah, I called my dad. I told him, so I'm coming with my bike. He was, oh, cool, interesting. And he said, which way are you coming? I said, I don't know. I come just straight.
South.
Ride south.
And then he
Towards
told
the sun. No, that's east.
yeah. And I Googled, it was like 3,000 and or 2,800. And then my dad said, you know what? You should probably on your way see also Yellowstone National Park. I was like,
Might as
just
well.
pulled up Google Map. I'm like, it was like totally going towards the east. It was like making a triangle.
Oh
like
yeah, I
two
was pretty
sides
far out of the
over.
way.
I was like,
Detour, yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do it. I was like, so it came to 4,000
Wow.
at the end of the
Wow.
day.
But I bet it was beautiful
like-
riding your bike through there. Hey.
And it was absolutely the best idea whatsoever, because it was in October and Yellowstone National Park is swamped
Mm.
with tourists
Yeah.
in summer.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to close down, like shut down around that time. Like many campsites are
Oh, okay.
are closed off.
Okay.
And it was I was on the road for 48 days, 42 days of biking, 6 days of rest days, and I had just 2 hours of rain. So it was like all
Wow.
nice and sunny.
Wow.
It's inland,
Yeah.
and in October, if you want to go down the coast, it's like you get like half of the days probably rain.
Yeah, I guess that probably makes sense.
And
Hey.
it was gorgeous. So it was like all over the Rockies.
Yeah.
How much of going up and down on a tour.
What about going through like the desert areas? Like you guys both went through pretty hot areas, I would imagine, on those trips. Like through to
like
Vegas.
for
I mean,
me,
you're riding
like
through the
towards
desert.
the end, like when I got to Utah, it's like in one day I got like the whole 48 days of tan. Like
Yeah, I
in
know
one
shit.
day. Like first, like I was in really high elevations for like 70-80% of all my distance. I was
How
on the
high?
Rockies.
How
It's like
high?
the highest was like 3,000 meters, like 10,000 feet.
Whoa.
So when you're in Yellowstone National Park, on your way to south, which is Grand Teton National Park, you have to pass the Great Divide 3 times. Like you go up and down, and they're like 2,700 to 3,000 meters elevation. Yellowstone itself is quite high, and that's why it shuts down early in the season.
Mm.
And it was snow, and so anyway, like for almost 80% of those 7 weeks, I was on high elevation, and it was cold.
7 weeks?
Yeah, it took me 7 weeks.
So 48 days. So it's about
Yeah.
120 kilometers every day, right?
No, on average, I did 96 kilometers per day.
96?
Yeah.
But every day.
No, for those 42 days.
Yeah, 42. Well,
Yeah.
almost, yeah.
Yeah,
but-
like one rest day, around one rest day per week. Like 6
Holy
days
shit.
of biking
And
and yeah, I was cold. Like I slept at like up to minus 10 degrees centigrade.
where were you
temperature.
sleeping?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, you guys take these
I-
big trips. You seemed very ill prepared for your big trip.
I'll tell you.
What's your sleeping arrangements? How do you eat? Like, what's that deal?
I just the first night there's this really cool website
Warm
called Warm
Showers.
Showers. It's like cyclist
Ah.
version of couch surfing.
Okay.
So I slept the first day that I biked all the way to Seattle, like 240k on a heavy
But not
bike.
in one day, right?
One day.
In one day?
Yeah.
No, Nima is.
Yeah. I was because I wanted to make it to one of the Warm Showers hosts, and I biked there, and my bottom bracket was fucked up. sorry.
No, you can.
No,
say
I
that.
swear as much as you
Who
want.
was your
Okay.
host?
My hosts were like
Not
two
Aaron.
wonderful,
Oh.
two wonderful cyclists, two ladies, couples, and so they were expecting me for dinner, and I started really early. I rolled out of my apartment, I guess, like 5 a.m. or something.
Okay.
What's
And-
your average pace?
Not
25?
too far. Not too fast. Maybe 20, 22.
22 for
Yeah.
loaded bike is
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a really good speed.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I was pushing. So what happened was, by the time I got there, my right knee was dead.
Oh yeah.
It had swollen.
Oh,
like,
shit.
So big, and they were like, holy shit, this is just the first day of my biking, and so it was the bottom bracket was kind of hanging loose, and then I ended up staying one more day there, and they work in a bike community
Oh, okay.
shop. The lady was actually the manager of that place, and I fixed my bottom bracket for like $5, and I tipped $5.
Oh nice.
Like for $10. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And but by the time I left, my knee wasn't still
Yeah.
quite well. So I iced it the whole the time I was there, and so I just kept going. So okay, let's just see what's gonna happen.
You rode
was like-
4,000 kilometers on the fucking bunk knee.
But it got better after, like
On
it was
40th day.
recovered.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
better when he stopped biking. It just recovered.
yeah. After I got there, it felt great.
Yeah,
You guys
I-
are crazy.
I
man.
just kept going, and it was like my knee was filled with this like
Fluid, yeah.
fluid thing. It was like making noises. It was like it was like my kneecap was floating.
Yeah, you
in-
shouldn't keep riding your bike after that,
Yeah.
man. You should go see a doctor.
What doesn't kill you makes you
did.
stronger, okay?
He
Yeah.
did 40 days later. He was.
And I like the rest of it. I stayed like 2 or 3 more nights with Warm Shower hosts.
Okay.
Like wonderful people that they really, straightened me up. Like I was like filthy. and
yeah, they give
had
you.
no water, no battery,
Yeah.
nothing. So, and the rest of it was 70% camping, like white camping, anywhere under bridges.
So you brought
in
your
the
tent
woods.
along with you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Like anywhere, and I slept 5 or 6 nights in outhouses.
In outhouses.
Yeah, in especially in
Yeah.
Wyoming. Yeah,
Like
because
the
it's
campsites and stuff.
yeah, campsites are not safe, and everywhere was shut down, and it's like wildlife,
They're not.
hazard.
The campsites aren't safe because of the wildlife.
There was just one campsite open, which was at the very northern part of the Yellowstone National Park. I stayed there for 2 or 3 nights. It was like biking around in Yellowstone, coming back to the campsite. But then I packed up, heading south, and there was no other campsite open, so I would have slept anywhere.
Wow.
And then I was like over this Great Divide pass, was like getting dark, and
Yeah.
so I slept like 5 or 6 nights. I have my notes in those outhouses, just and I was told with with the park rangers that go to one of them. And
Oh,
like,
really?
from
You went
this-
to the park rangers
because-
and they were like, go sleep
yeah,
in the
because
outhouse?
there are like wolves and like grizzly bears
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I had like some noises, you know, when I was on my own sleeping. And it was every night in those. But the good thing, it was so cold. It was like -5 to 10.
Yeah.
That it wasn't too smelly.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I would clean up and put my tent's footprint. You know.
Yeah.
So it was okay.
Huh.
So I survived.
Paulina, what
Well,
about
yeah.
you? Like, what was your
So I
survival
rolled out, no
techniques?
tent, nothing.
No tent.
No tent, nothing.
So you,
What was your plan? What was, like, but
Okay.
what was
you
your
do
plan?
you
for
do
sleeping?
take two
I-
t-shirts and a pair of flip flops.
I
And a
had a
towel.
pair of flip flops. I was like, I'm going to California. I need flip flops.
you forgot to like you probably brought your toothbrush and stuff.
Yeah,
or-
yeah, yeah. Like, you know, basic stuff. My camera. That was the. I was like, okay, my camera. My camera was probably 1/3 of my whole weight. Of
Oh my
the
God.
Oh my God.
luggage and stuff. But anyway, so just before my trip, I had no idea how I'm gonna do it, and then I just discovered this website, Warm Showers. And I was like, okay, that's great. There's hope, you know. And I booked my first host, and I was their first guest, and they were my first host. So it was
Oh,
really
nice.
cute. And I was like, okay, as long as I have my first stay, and it's, you know, they actually responded. There are people out there, you know. I think I can make it. So it's like I had only one confirmed stay, and that's it. It gave me enough confidence to actually go for the trip.
Okay.
And my first distance was to Bellingham. Is that what it is? It's about 110 kilometers. My phone battery died, so my last 10 kilometers, I just used my memory to find their location.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I kind of, when I was like 1
People
kilometer
still have
away,
memory.
That's pretty.
Yeah, mine
That's
died
pretty
like
intense.
right like 2K before getting to my
because
host.
I also used a lot of applications. I wanted to document this
Yeah,
thing, so
yeah.
I was using Strava, you know, which is a pretty cool
yeah, yeah.
application. Strava, then Google Maps, and you know, my data was running, so it killed my battery pretty fast. And then I ended up finding a coffee place that was closing in 1 minute, and I was like, I don't care, just plug for 2 seconds. I needed an
Just to let
exact
you know,
address.
you don't need to
What
keep
time was
your-
that?
So I arrived at about 7 p.m. Yeah, it was my first time, 100 kilometers, first time loaded bike, 100
Oh my God.
kilometers. It was awesome. I felt pretty good.
So now what?
Yeah.
Just go. You should go back home to sleep and then.
Well, you know, it's like once I crossed the border, I thought that's it. You know, if
Yeah.
I cross the border, there's no
Yeah.
turning
No
back.
turning
no
back.
turn back.
Mm.
And then I got to those hosts, and they were so lovely. There was a couple. The husband was a physician, and she owned a clinic as well. And they also gave me a few tips about cycling and things like that. And then from that point, they also give you tips on the best routes to the
Okay.
next destination. That's one of the good things of
Yeah.
staying with Warm Showers, because they usually are cyclists, and they're usually the touring cyclists, and they do know a lot about the area. So that's
They-
great.
they-
Like,
they're gonna fix your bike.
Yeah.
and-
they will fix
That's
your
so cool.
bike,
I love
yeah.
that there's these,
Yeah.
you know, things of, you know, it's just people taking care of each other
People
and
out
helping
there,
each
they're.
other. And
That's
just, like,
hope, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's
It's
neat.
hope.
You know.
Guys, like, so I did 2 trips, this trip and the other trip to Malaysia I just did recently. And I think the only reason why I survived and made it till the end is the kindness of all of those people.
Oh,
Honestly,
nice.
like people giving me charging batteries, people giving me spare tires, people in Malaysia, guys, it's insane. It was Thailand. I just crossed from Malaysia to Thailand, and I had a flat tire, no spare tire. That's it. I'm just in the middle of the street. The guy stopped. He's like, "Do you need help?" I'm like, "Yes." When people offer help, always say yes.
Yes.
Yes, and he grabs my bike. He drives it to a bike shop. So you know, they fix it at the bike shop. I'm ready to pay and things like that. They give me a spare tire. They give me a bottle of water, and they charge me nothing.
Wow.
In Thailand, knowing that I'm a tourist
Yeah.
from a Western country, you know,
Yeah.
and they're just, you know, have fun, enjoy Thailand. You know, it was.
Do
Yeah,
you
Stories
think?
like that
real
all
experience of locals is out of big cities.
It's-
Yeah.
That's
Guys, it's
Yeah.
I keep telling everyone it takes only one stupid case for everyone to start to be
Shouldn't,
afraid
Mhm.
of each other. But when you go on those trips, you meet so many kind people and open people that are ready there to share everything with you, that you just want to, go back and do the same and continue this, just helping everyone.
Yeah.
And Paulina, do you
Paying
think
it
that
forward.
Yeah.
do you think that that kindness that you mentioned, do you think that it's because you were on a bike? It's perhaps or
Yes.
yeah.
I think so. I think people do look at the cyclist differently, because they see that you struggle. You put some effort in to get into their city, and if you're traveling by bike, it most likely you don't have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise you would take a car, right?
Um,
And you don't know, but it's an assumption, right?
Well, for
It's
some
an-
people, it's an adventure thing. too,
Yeah.
right? They don't necessarily have to be traveling by
Yeah.
bike, but
That's
I think that's what people see is like people are on an adventure and maybe want to be part of it and help these people along.
I
and be a
think
story on these
that's it,
people's
right? They
adventure.
want to be part of it, right? Maybe.
That's actually true. That could be it. But what I wanted to finish telling you guys before I forget. So I cycled through Washington State and then Oregon State, and staying with warm showers. I stayed in a motel once, and I stayed in Airbnb once. But those were like cool places. And then once I hit California, I met this guy, Tyler, who was shooting for this website, the cyclist website, and he used to work for National Geographic's.
Oh,
Very
wow.
cool guy, talented photographer. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Let me follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
I open an Instagram. Turns out I already follow the guy.
Oh,
He's that famous.
that's cool.
That I've been following him and I didn't really recognize him. I was like, wow, Taylor, I'm already following you. So he's like, Polina, don't be stupid. Get a tent.
Yeah.
And I took one extra day and I went to Walmart and I got a tent and I got a sleeping bag and a pad, and that's it. From that day through California, there are a lot of camping sites.
Yeah.
Way more than Oregon and Washington, and probably 70% of the places I was staying at were campsites.
Yeah.
And it was excellent. They were really amazing. They were only $5, and you get a shower and a nice community to stay with, and you
Yeah.
see other cyclists. You're like, hey, where
Yeah.
are you cycling from? And things
That's
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
And once you get down to past whatever parallel, you can kind of sleep anywhere outside, right? Like the weather's is all pretty consistent and that type of thing. Throw a tent down and it doesn't really matter, right? You don't need to be finding shelters and
For my case, I slept in campsites just maybe 10% of the time.
right.
And I realized in the US, you could sleep anywhere, provided that it's not on a private property.
Yeah.
Like anywhere on the side of the road. Even when I was in close to end of Washington State, and it was it got dark. I got to I was in Minnesota, I guess. Yeah, it's in Montana. And I went shopping, and it was too busy. It was the big city was driving me crazy, and I decided to just take off towards my next destination. It got really dark. I wasn't safe, so I pulled to the side of the road, and I went under the bushes and putting my headlight on, and somebody had called the police, and they thought, and they had reported that I was having a big chainsaw trying to cut the big this big billboard. It's a funny story. I was
I assume it's a
scouring-
small town.
yeah.
Nothing is happening there. So
I had just dropped my headlight somewhere, as I stopped, and I had this massive 1200 lumen headlight turned on. I was trying to put it keep it between my teeth, getting my things done, and then the police pulled over 2 police cars. I was this thing in my mouth. And I went over, and so that they told me, somebody called and said man, you see, I'm a bicycle tourer, and I'm heading for Yellowstone
Yeah.
at the moment. And then they were totally cool. They said do you need anything? Stay warm, and so I realized I had so much preoccupation before going, like where am I gonna stay?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up staying anywhere that I wanted, you know, provided it wasn't.
But that's the thing. If you think about it too much before going, you're not gonna have those answers. But once you're there, once you're cycling, you will find a place to stay. Regardless.
All you need is water, and like I had like power banks, like charging my phone. So I would keep going for 5 days and filling up my water bottles at any gas station or anything. I just would keep going. It would give me so much freedom to not thinking about where is my next, you know, place to sleep. Going anywhere that I felt like stopping, I would stop.
Okay.
Well, what about like personal safety? Like, especially for you, Paulina, as a woman doing all this and traveling by yourself and stuff. Like, I mean, if you're just pitching a tent on the side of the road or something like that, or even just staying at these strangers' homes, is that like you said, it takes one bad experience to kind of sour you on that type of thing, or is it just, you know, you're so overwhelmed by the amount of good experiences that you don't worry about it? Or
when I was going for my trip, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be killed, I'm gonna be raped. I was like, I was just ready for it, but I didn't.
Ready for it.
I had knife with me, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But I was shocked how far from reality I was in my fantasies about the danger. It's actually not that crazy. I had a case where I think I got a tent, and it was my second day with a tent, and I felt, you know, like I can do anything, I can sleep anywhere. I haven't yet, but I knew that I could. And I read this book just before going. It was one of the books that inspired me. It's called Miles from Nowhere.
Okay.
It's about this couple in their late 20s. It was in 70s, end of 70s, and they had money to put down for a mortgage, and they're like, well, we have enough money to like even travel the world by by bikes. And then they look at each other and like, let's do it. And they did it. So I read this book, and what they say in those books that you can stay at churches and fire station. Fire station. What do you call it?
Fire station.
Yeah, and churches, you know, things like that. And so this one day, I cycle. I really wanted to push it, and I felt good. You know, on days that you feel good, you want to cover as much kilometers as you want, like as possible. And I saw just this one little city, but I wasn't sure about the size of the city. So I get to the city, and it's getting really dark, and it's like 2 pubs, and the population of the city was 102 people.
Oh yeah, we don't call that a city. It's like a hamlet.
It's funny, but you see it on the map.
But they have the
right?
basics: 2 pubs.
2 pubs, and then 2
pubs for 100 people.
No pharmacy, no hospital, just 2 pubs.
I walk in, I'm like, okay, great, I'm gonna stay here, because I was still kind of like, I don't know if I want to stay in my tent, if it's not a campsite. And I asked how much is a night, and they're like, oh, $130. Oh, okay, that would last me for a week.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, what are other options? And I started to ask locals in the pub. I'm like, what would you guys think? Where can I camp and stuff like that? They're like, oh, you can go like 100 meters out, and then there's an old post office, and then just behind it there is a cliff, and you can put a tent right by the cliff, but live
Very specific.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, people do it all the time, but please make sure you leave early because it's illegal to camp there. Okay, which I love, like when people realize that it's illegal, but they still share that information. They're like, yeah, just do it.
That's cool.
And then this guy, was talking to him, and he was like a local, not drunk, but everyone was kind of making fun of him. And he was giving me all the tips and stuff. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to go. I'm going to camp there. I'm going to do it. I'm like, telling myself I can do this. I get out. It's pitch black. I'm going somewhere on the like edge of the cliff, by the tree, in the middle of nowhere. And then just before I bike there, I pass a little church. And I see a woman coming out of the church, and I stop, and I was like, well, you know what? It never hurts. I skin. So I'm like, do you guys host random cyclists like passing by? And she looks at me. She's like scared, and kind of like, not scared, but like, what a weirdo, kind of giving me that look. And she's puzzled, and she's like, no, not really. So I'm like, okay, like it's fine. I didn't expect her to say yes. And then I keep going. I start pitching my tent in the pitch black, and then I hear this drunk. I call him drunk. He was sober, but he was a really goofy guy. He runs.
Town fool.
Town fool, exactly. Yeah, that was him. He runs towards me. He's like, "Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's me." I'm like, "I'm not scared." He's like, "You know that lady at the church? She wants you to come back." I'm like, "Oh, great." So I come back, and she's like, "You know what? You can pitch your tent behind the church." I'm like, "Oh, that's wonderful. You know, at least I'm next to the like kind of
Good.
people
Yeah.
and stuff." And she goes to the back of the church, and she shows me a washroom. And just before the washroom, there's like a little like a powder room, whatever you call it, but it's a room, it's a
Yeah.
space.
Mm.
And I keep looking at the room and at the lady, and I'm not saying anything.
It's like
Just,
looking at the plate full of food. You gonna eat that?
Yeah. It's like Boris, eh?
And of course, she looks back at me. She's like, "Oh, you can just sleep in here." And I'm like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And that's where I stayed. And she just said, like, "Yeah, in the morning you can leave and just close up the space, and that's it."
Cool.
Okay, so I have a challenge for you guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna time here right now in my phone. In how many seconds? But it's gonna be one and then the other. I'm gonna start maybe with.
Do you want to take a break before you play your game?
with Polina? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. A break.
Yeah.
Break
Okay.
is good.
So yeah, we'll take a break,
I
and
had too much coffee, so.
we gotta take a pee break, and we'll come back and talk more about these guys' really awesome travels. It's really interesting. All right, we'll be back.
Hey, mama, I know what you need, but I never met a woman with so much green. Hey, mama. Hey, mama, hey. Hey, mama, I've seen you around, messing with all the poor boys in this town. Hey, mama. Hey, mama, hey. You burned this whole place down just to wear the crown. What you need, but I never met a woman with so much cream. Hey, mama, hey, mama, hey, hey, mama, I've seen you around, messing with all the poor boys in this town. Hey, mama, hey, mama, hey. You burn this whole place down just to wear the crown.
Yeah, I don't know. It is an input, but it does depends where you grew up on. Like I don't know.
It's true.
Coming from South America, it's not that we are scared of
It's not
nothing.
like
Yeah. It's like
not
Aware
abstract.
it's
everything.
shit happens like a lot. It's not like, oh, if you're not afraid, it's not gonna happen. No. It's gonna happen if you are afraid. If you're not afraid, if you're half afraid, or
You just you lowering the chances.
yeah,
but
you had to, of course, you have to.
No, you have.
But like
you have to
for
make a risk
from all
assessment,
the places,
Yeah.
like,
from all the places that I travel in my life, unfortunately, the place that I come from was
the
the
worst.
most dangerous.
I heard a lot about Brazil.
And Brazil, I remember I bumped into a girl in Brazil, and she was.
Trying to rape me.
No, she was
We are back on the Slack line chatting about
Hey,
our stuff.
hey.
Keep going. I'm
Yeah.
just wanted to. Yeah.
So I bumped into this girl. I was making this path, but I was doing by car, and I bumped into her in a hotel, and she had like a crappy bike, and she was like doing all this stuff with the crappy bike and stuff, but it was not. It was kind of off road what she was doing. It was like some kind of steep gravel that she was going through, and her bike was like this like city bike that was not even like very good for the city. So I look at that, I was like, oh fuck, man. I mean,
But she wasn't from Brazil.
no, she was from Brazil. She was from São Paulo actually. And anyway, it was a day that I was visiting in a lot of places, and I aimed to go to a city nearby by car, but I was around, and her goal was only to go to this city. So we stood in this hotel for the night, and interesting enough, by the end of the day, I'm getting into the city, and I saw her on the road.
Oh wow.
So I bumped into her again, and then we found a hotel or a hostel or whatever, and we stood there for a night. And I was like, okay, so like her bike is very, not the
Bad.
best, and she's already feeling a lot of pain because she was on the gravel, and like her arms and legs are sour. And I asked her, do you have like a knife or something, like before going on my way on the next day? And she was like, no, it's like, it's okay. It's like, all right, I gave her my knife. I was like, just have it. If, I hope you're not going to use it, but just have it. And I continued my trip, and a week later sent him a message to see how was she doing and everything. And she was like, oh, I came back to São Paulo by bus. I just put the bike on the bus. Because she was cycling in one of the roads, and a guy stopped, got out of the car, and started masturbating in front of her. So she just crossed a very busy highway without looking into any of the sides. And she was terrified. And
Of the guy masturbating.
yeah, but like the guy just
Don't
stopped
understand that.
stopped the car, and like and she just that was the end of the trip for her. But for me, it's so fucked up in my that's I was just getting you guys are much more interested. I was just going to talk about politics.
Yeah. we talk a lot about that type of stuff.
But
on this
it's
one.
Honestly,
for
I
me
think
it's
people
just
make a really big deal of masturbation. It's
Yeah.
no
Well,
man,
I
it's
don't
so
understand-
fucking creepy.
I don't understand the mindset of that guy.
yeah,
Just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull my car over
but that was
and
like
get
hell
out
of a masturbator
and
like,
masturbate
really,
in
like,
front of this person,
like
and that's going to convince them.
No.
to
It's a
come
sick
with me?
person. It's a sick person probably.
No,
he
it's
was
just
like
for a girl. She
world
doesn't
champion in
know.
masturbation, like somebody that can masturbate in a busy highway.
No. The problem is that if the person did this, they could be that crazy. So you don't know what would be
Yeah.
the next step.
Well,
Like
it's
a
what
busy
else they're
highway,
capable
you know,
of.
like-
That-
No,
That's
but
true.
the guy's sick. It's a sick
Yeah.
person. Anyways,
Back to happy things. I wanted to
back,
talk
back
about
to happy things.
your game and their.
I have a game right
the,
Okay,
the
let's do the
pleasant
game.
I have a game
kindness
right
of strangers.
now. So I want to see which one of you guys can.
Are we
No, wait.
Just between them two.
Yeah. Just between you two, I'm gonna give Paulina the first.
Contest.
I'm gonna give Paulina the first lap,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna go to Nima. I want to see which one of you guys could pack your luggage faster.
Oh my
Paulina,
God.
1, 2, 3, go. Just
Oh,
say
what-
the
what-
items. Yeah.
Oh, okay. 2 pair of underwear, the flip flops, the camera, the bottle of water, pants, the bicycle pants, the bicycle shirt, something warm, another something warm, tools, 15 millimeter. And did I say my camera?
60% of the time, it works.
Okay. So that was 25 seconds. You didn't.
This
Anyway.
is not quite fair because I had time to think.
Yeah, now
But I have
she's
more
giving you
things
a
to
bunch of-
pack.
Yeah,
so-
it's okay. No, Nima.
The charger, the charger.
1, 2, 3, and go.
Okay, so spare tires, tools, my camping gear.
You forget this the
my
tires.
my cooking stuff, pots and dry fruit, and a set of like sleeping, like clean sleeping clothes, and that's it. A lot more, but I don't want to go over 25 seconds.
It's science.
You actually went to
Okay.
over 25
Did I?
seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I keep going then.
And you
If
totally
I
forgot toothbrush and you forgot underwear.
Oh, well,
Gross.
me too. I
Gross.
took the underwear at
No,
least.
that was a contest. I won't use them.
You can pick that stuff
But-
up.
but
on
I-
your own.
I
Just
didn't-
make a toothbrush out
I
of
didn't
it.
take spare tires.
No.
But in average,
I noticed that Nima had the food and the cooking and that type
and
of
the
thing
tires,
down.
the tires.
Yeah.
I
Survival-
think he's
the survival
wired
stuff.
for survival, and I'm kind of just, as long as I have my clean underwear, I'm good.
And you were traveling light, I guess.
I did not have cooking gear. A lot of people do take it if they travel long distance. I think that's something definitely to look into if you're traveling in less developed countries and for long distances. But in US, I didn't feel like I needed it. And dry fruit and nuts are like the best thing to grab with you
Your
because
best friend.
you should always have a snack and you should always have a food because I had those moments when you're out of energy. Like you don't have energy. It's like a car. You run out of gas and you cannot move. That's it. So you need something to get sugar in your blood to keep pumping.
Okay, so average, you see, guys, it just took them 25 seconds to pack their stuff and go.
For a
Yes,
3,000 kilometer
yeah.
journey.
Well, what is
Nice.
stopping you?
Oh, me?
Well, the
Laziness.
listeners are-
Laziness. Pure
Listeners.
laziness. I'm not going to dance around it. It sounds wonderful.
No, I was going to say money. How much money in
Yeah,
average
that's an interesting
would you
case-
guys
question too.
I would
save
say,
up for?
I would say I prefer comfort. I wouldn't push it too much. I'm a bit spoiled, but it took me a month, and with the ticket back, I spent $1,200 or $300
With the ticket back.
Yeah.
No,
with the
A
ticket
plane
back.
Without-
ticket?
Plane ticket
Without
back.
the ticket, I would like to
Yeah,
know.
like $1,000 for a month.
$1,000 for a month.
Because most of the time when you travel, you spend the most on hotels, and if you have that covered through the camping and then staying with warm showers, that's great. Some of the warm showers will feed you as well. Don't
cool.
expect it, but
sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it happens. They like wait for you with the dinner, like what happened with Nima as well. So that covered as well.
So around like 30 days for you would be like your budget. 30 days,
My-
$30 a day.
Yes, my budget was $30 a day, and then some days I would spend less, some days I would spend more. So it was $30 is pretty good.
What about
Nima?
you, Nima?
Can you
Uh,
beat it?
I
Oh,
can
he
do it
can.
cheaper.
I think he can.
Well, he
Yeah.
doesn't carry any underwears. Of course he can.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I did write them down, and I have like everything
Me too.
sort of
Yeah.
categorized, and I think it was around $20 per day on average, and I think $15 of it was food because I
Yeah.
eat a lot, even if I don't bike. Like my metabolic rate is insane, like 3 times average, even a person who does the same stuff as me.
Wow.
I know it from my trips with
Yeah.
my friends. Like,
Shit.
I would go to like there's this like Dollar Tree store in US, and everything is quite cheap, and they have everything. They're really like all GMO good stuff, And it was like I would come out of this Dollar Tree, and all my bags are already totally packed, no space. I come with a big shopping cart. It's like
What am I
sitting, like I just for 10 minutes I was in Jackson in Wyoming.
Okay.
It came out of this Dollar Tree. It was like just 10 minutes just looking. I said, fuck, what am I gonna do with this whole shopping
Eat it all.
Where am I gonna put them? It was this project of unpacking everything from the because a lot of things are just people like in North America they sell air in just boxes.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing inside.
Yeah.
So I reorganize and repack everything.
Yeah.
Like wherever I could put. So long story short, it was like 25 kilos of food.
Wow.
Like and carrying it for a week because in Wyoming there is nothing. Wyoming is as big as British Columbia. Population is just 500,000.
Shit.
So it's like the wildest. And by the way, that's the only state that you cannot free camp. Like white camping is illegal.
Oh wow! Why?
There's nobody
Because of
there, and you
animals.
can't use
Because
the
of
land.
animals?
Yeah, because it's not safe.
Oh, because of
Why,
the
but,
animals.
why? Like, and what do they care? They don't even have too many people there.
Yeah, but some people say it's because of that, and some people say it's because it's one of the capital states of U.S. So states are they have the different regulations. I can't talk for the ones
Yeah.
I was, and they were fine. It was like there was this road that was like right between Wyoming and
Wisconsin.
no Montana, or I don't remember. It was like getting out of
You're the
Wyoming.
Idaho.
You're the American here,
So
American Canadian.
I was like, then I was like right on this road, and I knew Wyoming free camping is not allowed, and the other state is allowed. So I could technically camp
On
the
that side of the
right
road.
side of the
Ah,
road.
that's so
but
stupid.
it was like-
That's so
it
stupid,
was
man.
so funny.
Borders, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Imaginary
so
lines.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me it was like food, and I did stay in hostels overall like 4 nights. It was like $20. Like because it was everything was off season, everything was
Yeah.
super cheap.
Something that interests me about so you guys have encountered a few times, or yourself especially, Nima, like the animal issue, being like, well, you can't camp here because there's animals, which kind of throws me for a loop as like a Canadian growing up in an area like this. Is like, well, we would go camping into the woods all the time, and there's bears and cougars and shit, and like we have like no real not regard for it, but you just kind of like you protect yourself against it by having the spray and by hanging your food and like doing all that type of shit.
But usually people come with cars, right? So you still have, like, if something happens, you can run to the car, right?
That's true. That's usually yes, but I mean I have been on backpacking trips where you go into the woods and you fucking stay there for a few days or whatever. Yeah, I just find it interesting that people would be that concerned about it. I guess, like, are there that many attacks of random campers that are out there?
Like, I haven't done a hell of a long time of this type of stuff. Like maybe I've done like a week kind of tour in Washington States and other places. I've stayed in middle of the forest and stuff. Nothing has happened. But what I want to tell, I've read quite a few books of people. Like I love
adventure
bike
books and
tour,
stuff.
like,
Yeah.
books. Like I have right now in my Kindle 45 books. Like I just find whatever and read them, and I have never, come across anybody on their like years of trips being, attacked by.
Well,
Nobody's had a story of being attacked by an
No.
animal.
Well,
No,
the
not-
ones that
not
They're
did.
not
in-
here
the-
to tell.
Yeah, the ones that did not have time to write a book.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That
But
makes
there's
sense, actually,
there's
like,
there,
yeah.
there's most people survive those types of attacks.
Yeah.
No, not even like it, like sort of hazard or something. Like even this guy was in middle of Africa, like they're like
Yeah.
tigers and
Lions
like
and shit,
lions
yeah.
and he was I don't know if Alistair Humphrey. He has biked all around the world like in 4 years and 3 months. And one night he was like, "Oh, I'm on my own. I hear like a jaguar
yeah.
or something." I was like, "Oh, maybe it's not the best idea to like being totally in the wild. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I should stay somewhere." But he heard something, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a long story, but I
Yeah.
think we are like addicted to be feared of things. We find
Interesting.
things to be scared of.
Yeah.
So that keeps us, busy and
I'm
distracted.
curious about Paulina's trip through Southeast Asia, because where else did you go there? Specifically about the people's kindness, because my brother was over there a couple of years ago and he got lost in Thailand. He got separated from the group that he was with because they were all going to this thing that he didn't really want to go. And he's like, I'm just going to go on my own little adventure. And he got lost. And he ended up getting a ride like 30 minutes back into town on the back of this dude's scooter who, like, just like you said, he was lost and somebody said, you need a hand? And he just said, yeah, a lot of people are too proud to ask for help. But when you do actually need help, you have to say yes, right? Like, which countries did you go to? What did you experience?
So about asking for help, never ever have this idea of like I'm too proud or anything like this. If you need help, do ask, and if someone offers, do take. That's my rule. So this winter, for the New Year's, me and my friend, we went to from Singapore to South Thailand. The final destination was Phuket, and my friend was getting married on January 15th. So we had the day we had to get there.
Wow. That's
it
was a race.
It was a race, but it was fun because it was my second time, and I was really pumped and excited. And it was my friend's first time to go there, and she's definitely not a cyclist, but I knew she has good pace and she had a bike for it, so I was sure she can do it. So we get to Singapore. We stayed there for a couple of days. We just bought some gear, additional gear, and then we cycled out. So. First day, 100 kilometers, 110 kilometers. We crossed the border. She did great. It's like only the last 10 kilometers where she was like, oh my God, I'm tired. I'm like, come on, we can do this. So our first host was a warm showers girl in a Muslim family in a village in the middle of nowhere through the jungle. You arrive to this village. There are like cows and chickens running around, and she has a big family, and the house has like a tinfoil, or would you call it like a metal kind of roof that has holes in it.
Okay, yeah.
But it's tropical country, so it's not a big deal. You put a bucket here and there.
Yeah.
When
just
it's
get really
raining.
warm during the day.
Yeah. So she kicks her brother out of the room, and she gives us the room in her house, and then she shows around, and I'm fascinated because I come from a developed Western country where comfort is something that everyone has.
Yeah.
So for me to see this, that's exciting. This is what I was searching for. So I'm totally excited. And my friend, she's like, okay, this is okay. And then the girl shows us the shower, and she's like, we have a traditional shower. I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. What is a traditional shower? And it's pretty much a bucket of water. Not even that, just a bucket of water that you have to pull yourself and put water on yourself. And the water, of course, not heated. It's coldish, but I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I love traditional shower.
She knows how to sell it.
Yeah.
It's a traditional shower.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
you can sell the shower here.
So that was
Spa.
excellent, and she made traditional food, and she showed us around, and she was a wonderful host. She was a Muslim, and she was asking a lot of questions how people portray Muslims in Western countries, and how we feel about staying with her and things like that. And I said, well, you're the first Muslim family I'm staying with, but you're great, so it's amazing. And she was very, 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 very welcoming, and their family was really great. And the only thing she asked for was like to wear longer pants, and everything else was fine.
She asked you to wear longer pants?
She asked if we can, because I asked her right away. I was like, is there
Are you
anything like
offending her?
like do we have to do certain things? Because I want to be
Yeah, for
respectful.
sure.
I'm in her house. It's just like, yeah, if you can just wear longer pants, that would be great, and nothing else. Like no, like she didn't ask for covering the sleeves or covering the head. None of this was kind of pushed on us in any way. And along the way, it was very fine. Like they look at westerns, just like, okay, westerns.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times people were taking pictures of us. They were
Yeah.
like, oh my God, white people, and they were taking pictures of us. So that was great. And then we kept paddling from that day. We had a few rainy days, but from what people were telling us, we got really lucky with the weather.
Okay.
Because it was, it was pretty good. We didn't have that many rainy days. And then once we get to Thailand, we get to the border, and I have a Russian passport, and Thai people are just like, hey, come on, welcome to Thailand. And then my friend, she has a Belarusian passport. She
Okay.
has the Belarusian passport, and I'm like, oh, where's your visa? She's like, what visa? I don't need visa. No, you need visa.
Oh.
So she was turned around and
Oh,
sent back to
no.
Malaysia. And it, we have wedding to attend. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh wow.
dude, you have to get visa because you have this wedding and it's a very important friend and we're doing this whole trip. And, it's like, trip is fun, but you have to make it to the wedding. That's like the main purpose of the whole thing. So she turns around, she gets back to Malaysia to figure out her visa stuff. And then at the moment I realized that, oh shit, I'm in Asia, female cyclist on my own in Thailand. And I get a little bit freaked out. At the same time, I was like, well, I can go a bit faster because I was, going with her pace. And she's like maybe like just 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers average slower.
Okay.
Or she gets tired. And it's at some point I get bored.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I can push it for a couple of days. I can push it. And I started cycling through Thailand. And then, I get this endless amount of flat tires. So the first one, I go to the bike store and they fix everything. They give me a spare tire, they give me a bottle of water, and they don't charge me and they send me further. I'm like, oh, wow, people are so kind here. So next flat tire that I get is like along the way, I just stop by this house in the middle of nowhere. I'm changing my tire and I'm, fiddling with everything, and it's a rare back tire. And then this guy from the house, he comes out. He's like, do you need help? He doesn't speak any English, but you just, mumbo jumbo, you understand each other. I'm like, yeah, can you do this? So while he's fixing my back tire, which I could totally fix myself, but he really wanted to help. So I'm like, hey, if you want to do it. While he's doing that, his wife is giving me bananas from her backyard.
Nice.
It's like they just have bananas,
Yeah.
and it's all organic. It's all real
Yeah.
stuff. She gives me water. She gives me everything. I'm like, wow, you people are amazing. So I jump on my bike. And it was my second day on my own. And because my friend wasn't there, I was like, she always wanted to see things like nature. She wanted to stop. She wanted to do those things. I felt like I haven't been doing a lot of that. Like I kind of just like cycling. I just like being on the bike. I'm just like going. So I was like, well, she's not with me, but maybe I should do some of those things that she likes as well. And I see this sign, waterfalls to the detour this way. I'm like, oh great, waterfalls. I'd like to check the waterfalls. And it's a 8-kilometer detour one way. And of course it's all hills. Here I am on my 5th kilometer up the hill. I'm like, why did I do this? And I have
Turn
to
around,
go
it'll
back.
be so easy to just ride this hill down.
No, it's up and down. So you're stuck in hills. And on my 5th kilometer, so the waterfalls at the 8th kilometer, I see a police car leveling up with me, and they're like, kind of, oh, what are you doing here? Of course, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a village, and I'm like figuring out, I wonder if there are tigers in here and elephants and things like that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's a Thailand. And police like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to see a waterfalls. Like come on, guys. It's like, what else is here? And they're like, okay. Oh, by the way, they don't speak English. It's just me explaining waterfalls. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. I was like, and there's a whole waterfall. Yeah. And so I keep cycling for 3 kilometers. And for the 3 kilometers that I'm cycling, a police car is driving behind me. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Are they going to arrest me? Are they going to rape me? It's like 3 policemen, 3 male police officers in the car.
All in one car?
All in one car. And they're
strange.
just circling behind me. I'm like, are they just guarding me? I don't know what's going on. So I'm kind of filming everything, like putting on my Instagram and stuff. Not uploading, but recording it.
Yeah.
So then I stop at the waterfalls, and they stop as well. They stop, and I'm like, can I leave my bike next to your car? They're like, okay, okay. And I start walking towards the waterfall. I'm like, is this the waterfall? They all come out of the car. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they keep following me. They keep 3 of them get out of the car. They keep following me to the waterfalls. And then once we get to the waterfalls, I'm like, yeah, so this is it. Yeah. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're like, selfie? And then we start taking pictures together and everything else. And then all of a sudden we're best friends. And then, but just before I went for the waterfalls, I asked them if they can give me a lift back to the highway for that 8 kilometers back. And they're like, no, 8 kilometers, no. And they, I don't know, they couldn't
They've been
understand me or
slowly
whatever.
following you for 8
They were following me for 3.
You were asking if it's too far to get to a highway. They said,
They-
no.
It's
just 8
close. It's just right back the way you came, crazy lady.
Anyway, we take all the pictures. We try to communicate. We're like best friends at that point. And then we come back to their car. And then I ask them again, can you give me a lift to this road? And I tried to communicate it better. All of a sudden, there is this old man. I have no idea how he got there, but he's also asking for a lift.
Was he from Russia as well?
No, he was just like, it was in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how he got there, but he also needed a ride. So they get him in the car. They get my bike in the car in a trunk, like it
How
was
big
like
is
a
this
pickup
police
car.
car?
It's a pickup kind of
Okay.
truck, but it's a police car.
Okay.
And yeah, so there's an old man and my bike in the pickup, and then me sitting with the policeman inside, and they're like, "Oh, give us your phone number." I'm like, "Okay, but it's off right now." And then he tries to call it, and of course it's off. And they take more selfies, and then he's like, "Show me your passport." I'm like, and then the other one's like, don't ask. It's funny. You don't speak their language, but you understand what they kind of
Yeah.
What's going on?
what's
Yeah.
going on. And then, I remember just one word in Thai from my trips back in the day. And in my head, it was thank you, but it wasn't thank you, it was hello.
Okay.
I was like, savat the crab, savat the crab. And they started laughing and saying something else. And only then I learned that instead of saying thank you, I was saying hello.
They were sure you were crazy.
Somebody being so generous and kind. Hello.
That was it pretty much. But they give me a lift out of that detour, and then they drove me on a highway for like bigger road up to the hill. Like they left me on top of the hill, and they were like, okay, you're being good and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, thank you guys so much. And yeah, that was it. But it was cool. Yeah, so 3
That's
policemen.
so random.
I would like to ask you guys.
I wish you could have asked them why they were following you in the first place.
How wide?
No, why they were following you.
Yeah,
in the
but they
first
had
place.
like zero English.
They're probably just like, you guys want to go check out that waterfall? Yeah, let's go check out the waterfall.
it was really cool.
I would like to ask you guys, like, how, because you said that your friend, she was the one that would like to see more of the nature, and you were the one cycling more, right?
Yeah.
And just it's a question for both of you. How do you guys measure that? Like how much you're gonna stop, or like is your trip about cycling, or is about seeing the stuff that it's and stopping for the nature that is around, or just cycling through? Like, is that the objectives is the road, the objectives is to arrive, or the objectives is to stop in while you do the trip? Well, how do you guys see what's the most
That's
important stuff?
That's, I think, a question that could be extended to any aspect of life, and I think it's a constant challenge to, like, I'm aware of the fact that I shouldn't, like, life is not about a destination, but like it's so easy to get carried away and get obsessed with one thing or another, and like a bike trip for me is like a good sort of workshop of practicing not to be obsessed with getting to the final destination. And that's part of the reason like there is like always this challenge of carrying less, like being more minimalist with bike touring trips. But at the same time, sometimes I think, okay, if I'm not gonna carry any like I have my coffee stuff, like my pots and all of that stuff. It's heavy. I go
Yeah.
slower,
Yeah.
but like it's more than half of the reason I do this whole bike trip. Like being in my tent and making my coffee, and like
Life
just
is not full
enjoying-
without coffee.
Yeah,
It's
like,
true.
and it's like, like where am I going? Like I would like I didn't even have to do this.
Yeah.
So that's all about enjoying the process.
Hmm.
And for me, so I like on my trip to Vegas, first 5 days I biked like on average 150k every day. It was like I did like 700, 800k in less than a week, which
Holy
it
shit.
was like 2 days of 1 day of rest. I was like, and I had these really like the interesting books that I wanted to read, and every night I would get to my tent, I was like cooking, and then I would just faint. It's like,
Yeah.
Then I said like, why am I doing this? I want to read
Yeah.
this book. I want.
What's
to
the rush?
Yeah, so I decided to take it slower, and like some of the rest days is like I would just started reading, and I just stayed in my tent the whole day.
Nice.
But not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you could go really fast. It depends on your mood too. Sometimes we need like action. Speaking about myself, it's
I
like
have those days.
play of. I think
If you feel
life
good.
is about, like, for me, like the latest finding of what makes me happy is like kind of juggling my yin and yang.
Yeah.
Like if I stay too much in my yin mode, I get really like down, and
Off
life
balance.
becomes stagnant, and like so I need to act and then take it easy, act and take it easy. So in action is like you just want to go, it's
Yeah.
like you need to get everything fast.
Pumping.
But
Yeah.
there's like for you the same question, and like I would just like to add that Nima, you've done this alone, and you done this by yourself, but you also did with a friend. And how
Yeah.
different would that be? Because when you are by yourself, you do whatever it's in your mind, but when
Yeah.
you have someone else, you have to
Yeah.
respect the pace. Like
I'll tell you. So first time on my first trip when I did it alone, I think I had 3 challenges that I did not expect. I was thinking that I was preoccupied with being raped. I'm not being able to pump the pedals, like push my bike for 100 kilometers a day. But that was not the problem. The 3 problems that I encountered was the pain of sitting on your seat for a very long time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys about
That was really
My
bad.
ass is already past that.
Yeah,
Long
it's
time ago. It has no senses.
yeah, it's your ass, it's your skin between your legs. It's invest in a good seat.
Yeah.
It's crucial. Second thing, which was
Or
a big
in
problem.
good ass.
Yeah.
But you can't get the good ass without riding the bike.
So the second thing was a problem after I cycled for like a month. I got numbness in my left arm. So for touring, a lot of touring cyclists, they get additional things on their wheels, on the steering wheel. So you have different variations of how you can put your arms, because your arms will get numb.
Butterfly handlebars, like
Yeah.
European stuff.
Exactly. So mine have a little bit of variation, but not a lot. And you pushing it, at some point it gets numb. So,
Yeah.
and I was doing a lot of kilometers, and even after I completed my trip, I had numbness in my arm for a month. So it was a while. So I had to buy different gloves, and like on this trip I didn't have this
Do
problem.
you have drop handlebars or flat handlebars?
No, flat, and then there is like a horn.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
That's
So that's not the best.
yeah.
So
Not Nima approved.
yeah, no. And then the third problem was actually
Because you
cycling
have
alone.
to be able to bend
Yeah.
your elbow so that you don't like get all the
Exactly,
vibration.
that's exactly.
So
And you
when
keep
it's,
it
like,
keep it
flat, your
straight,
hands
and that's it.
Yeah.
That you don't do that. Don't do that. So yeah, the third problem was actually cycling alone, and there are days when you're happy to be alone, but most of the time you go through this psychological challenge, of being alone. And I was like, wow, I wish I had someone to share it with. So
I was really looking forward to cycle with a friend on my next trip. But when you pick a friend to cycle with you, make sure you're going at the same pace. It's really important, especially if you're one of the cyclists. Like, I feel like Nima and I both like to pump. Like, we like going at it. Like, if I have a good day, if I feel like it, I like to push my bike. I like to go fast. I like to go 20 kilometers an hour with a loaded bike, and I enjoy it. But my friend, she can do it, but she just doesn't enjoy it. And
it's not
general.
It's not about riding the bike. It's
Yeah.
about we're traveling through this place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for her mentality was a little bit different. For me, to answer your question about pushing it or exploring, I think it depends what you're looking for in the trip. So for my first trip, I just wanted to complete it. I wanted to complete 3,000 kilometers. I'm going through US. I've been to California. I've been to BC. It's not that I'm going to see tons of like completely unique places. There were some great stuff to see for sure, but it wasn't my objective for the trip. I just wanted to push my bike and
You wanted to make it.
I wanted to make it. That was my thing. I wanted to make it. I wanted to complete it, and I wanted to complete it with honestly to have my ego satisfied and be like, yo, that was a good speed, it was good heels, and I did it, and all of that. So I'm into sports, and those numbers on Strava were important for me. But on my second trip, I knew that I was going with someone who would be a bit slower, and it's through Asia, which might have more things to see and stuff like that. So we took it much slower, and we were okay with getting buses sometimes if it's super rainy day, or if it's super, like, for example, we skipped the Kuala Lumpur area just because the traffic there is really, really, really heavy. And that's one of the biggest problems in terms of cycling through Asia, is just traffic is very crazy, and it gets dangerous. In
Not a lot of road rules.
Yes, they have really good shoulders, but the drivers are crazy. And my friend, she gets scared. She gets scared, like if they honk. Sometimes they honk just to let you know that they're passing by. So they're actually trying to be nice. But she would get scared, and when you get scared on the bike, she wobbles, right?
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing. And I'm always calm. Like it doesn't affect me at all. So it was a little bit like a different kind of pace, but we did have end day. We had to be in Thailand for a certain day. So when you have an end day, you will have to rush it at some point. But if you have open day and you have stretchy budget, then you can do absolutely different thing. And I would totally do it differently. You know, I already did my numbers on Strava, so I think my next trip, I would definitely do something like 80, 90 kilometers a day, which gives you enough energy and time, the daytime, to see the places. Because a lot of the time we would come back to the city at 5 p.m. and everything is already closed. The daylight is coming to an end, you know, things like that. It was in the winter, right? Maybe in the summer it would have been different.
Okay.
But, you know, in mind. So, but again, if you do have time, if you do have money, I wouldn't say push it. I would say enjoy it more, explore, talk to people, see the places, go to that little coffee shop, you know, and experience more.
That's great, man. You guys have inspired me to at least look at it. I'm fucking lazy, and I don't know about riding 3,000 kilometers, 40 days. Sounds insane, but it also sounds like a lot of fun. A different type of adventure for sure. I have one quick question for you guys, because I know you guys gotta go. Do you pump music like in your ears, or like you read books? Like, why wouldn't you just listen to the books while you're riding?
No, I listen to music.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all the time.
No.
I don't know. Sometimes I just forget, and I realize it has been 4 days of just riding, and then I'll say, "Oh, I should start listening to music."
Yeah. Plus, you don't want to drain your batteries, I guess, probably.
No, I had a little iPod, and it's amazing on battery, so it doesn't kill my phone. And then I got a lot of I don't know if you guys know the movie Walter Mitty, The Life of Walter Mitty.
Yeah,
No.
I haven't seen it yet, but here's
Oh
really
God,
good.
you have to see it. It's about dreamers and traveling and that kind of stuff. And the soundtrack for that movie is absolutely amazing.
Oh, really?
And the guy who wrote some of the songs is Jose Gonzalez.
Okay.
Such a funny name. He has wonderful songs, and all my trip I was just keep listening to them, and it was really great.
Cool.
But you do need music.
Yeah,
Music
yeah,
is
for
your
sure.
is your fuel
Yeah, for
for sure.
Cool. Well, we'd really like to thank you guys, Polina and Nima, for coming and chatting with us about your adventures. Really, really awesome.
Fun inviting.
Yeah, we'll see you guys again, I'm sure. That is it for the Slackline with JWoww
Wow.
and the boss.
The boss is coming.
A made-up dumb fairy tale name, you
And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I'm gonna call you out, 'cause you ain't what you claim to be. Say you're a working man, but you ain't got no grit, you got no glory. What kind of man are you? Say you're noble, but you're just a goddamn fool. Go on, yeah, go, you do. Yeah, you better run, or you're staring down the barrel of my shotgun. Yeah, my shotgun. I'm gonna call you out, 'cause you ain't what you claim to be. Steal from the people of this land. The time is done for being sorry. I swear you're